Coming up on Mountain News this morning, 2 Kentucky organizations pledged to help rebuild our region after historic flooding left many people without homes. And a city here in eastern Kentucky hosts an event to raise some much-needed money to support those who are diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Coming up here on 6 o'clock on this Monday morning, I'm Dakota Makris. Good morning to you. Yeah, and it's Monday. Got to get back to work. Let's head over to Brandon this morning, who's been back to work since about midnight today, right? You come in.
I come in a little earlier. I didn't come in exactly midnight.
You wake up at midnight.
Well, sometimes
around that time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I wake up, almost as close to 5 o'clock as I can. So.
You said it, I didn't.
Well,
I
tell the truth here.
That's right. All right, let's get into it this morning, kind of see what's going on out there across the region. A few clouds as we start your Monday off. It is the first full week of October. October started on Saturday. Friday was the last day of September, and we are drying out and hopefully clearing out a little bit later this morning. Pikeville, US 119, US 23 intersection there near Pikeville Commons. 51 up that way this morning. A little bit of wet road should be drying out pretty soon. Temperatures have not moved at all this morning, unless somebody just snuck by me. 46 Wise, 49 Clintwood, 57 Jacksboro. A lot of low to mid 50s out there this morning across our region. So temperature-wise, it is a normal day on the coffee meter. But of course, it's Monday, so grab you a little extra this morning to get you going as you head out the door. Donuts for the next dozen hours. Well, as you start to see those clear away, you're going to see a nice change of pace. Sunshine coming into play as we head deeper into the day, and highs topping out in the mid to upper 60s. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Well, local nonprofits announced a plan to help eastern Kentuckians recover from devastating flooding at a faster pace. Our Chandler Wilcox details what the plan is and who will be impacted.
Big ideas are in the name of this festival, and organizers are racing to take off.
People who are here can feel the excitement, can feel, in spite of the flooding, in spite of our obstacles, in spite of our barriers, that we still have big ideas.
After homes across the region were destroyed, concern spread through Appalachia.
We still have folks living in tents, so shelter is really important. But when you think about recovery, when you think about where we're going to live and what the place is going to be like 5 years from now, you want it to be more than shelter. You want a home.
The Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky and FAHI are partnering with the Housing Development Alliance and Homes Inc. to address the need. The plan, called Higher Ground, is to build 16 homes split between Perry, Breathitt, Knott, and Letcher counties.
When we start doing something long-term, permanent, like housing, it gives people a sense of hope.
The Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky is donating $1.23 million, and FAHI is giving $50,000 towards the effort. But they could not wait to start.
We've already started. We knew this was coming, so we cheated a little bit and started early. Hopefully we'll be framing houses by the end of next week.
Making the big ideas count. In Hazard, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Organizers are hoping to go beyond 16 homes as funding increases. Well, Lost Creek was one of the harder hit areas during the flooding. Many locals lost their homes and valuables, some even having to be rescued. Flood survivor Parker Miller remembers the National Guard trying to rescue him while trying to remain calm.
Remember, I grabbed his hand, yanked him into the window, and he's got a smile on his face. He's like, "Hey man, it's cold in here." He said something like that, you know.
Well, Miller and his great-grandmother are now living in a camper in Lost Creek. He says they and many others are still in need of assistance in any way. Millions of Americans are currently living with Alzheimer's disease of some forms of dementia. And on Saturday, hundreds of Southeast Kentuckians gathered in London in hopes of putting an end to that debilitating disease. Alyssa Williams has that story.
A sea of purple moved through the streets of London on Saturday.
There's wonderful people here that are very dedicated to the community and serving the community.
The 2022 Southeast Kentucky Walk to End Alzheimer's event kicked off at the London Laurel Farmers Market, aiming to raise funds for the Alzheimer's Association.
People don't realize what the association does outside of just fundraising. They support a lot of people in the state of Kentucky. Over 600 people have been touched by the association through support programs.
Many of those in attendance are walking in honor of someone they love, like President of St. Joseph London and St. Joseph Berea, John Yanes.
I had an aunt who suffered from Alzheimer's for many years, and that's why I'm here. She eventually passed away, so I'm walking for her today.
For event organizers, the walk is not only an opportunity to raise funds to end Alzheimer's, but it can also connect those impacted by the disease.
When I go into the Chamber of Commerce's in different places, I always ask the question, raise your hand if you yourself or if you know someone who has experienced a loss or someone with Alzheimer's, and the entire room, the hands are up. So there's not a dry person in the room, just because we've all experienced it, and it's a vicious disease, and it's something that we all want to find a cure to.
Aiming to put an end to Alzheimer's, one step at a time. In London, Alyssa Williams, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, the walk had 200 registered participants, and event organizers say they reached 33,000 of their $40,000 goal. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The American Cancer Society estimated that nearly 4,000 women in Kentucky were diagnosed with breast cancer this year. Oncology nurse navigator Vicki Frisbee is a cancer survivor herself and says there are some symptoms to look out for, like changes in breast tissue and skin.
Any changes with your breast is a reason to see your physician and to be evaluated and to go into further testing, such as a mammogram. Some women experience a discoloration on the outside of their breast tissue.
There will be a free breast cancer awareness walk in Lexington at Jacobson Park on October 15th. Remote Area Medical hosted a pop-up clinic in a small community in nearby Virginia. Our Jordan Mullins was there and talked with some organizers about just how important these clinics are to people in the region.
Remote Area Medical is hosting a pop-up clinic on October 1st and 2nd at Riverview Elementary Middle School in the Grundy community of Buchanan County, Virginia.
We provide dental, vision, and medical services completely free of charge to our patients, and we have no qualifying questions. We take anybody and everybody.
Providing all types of health care to folks who may not have the opportunity to get a checkup otherwise.
A lot of patients that just don't have access to that kind of care, whether it's because there aren't the doctors around or because they can't afford their co-pays or they just don't have insurance and don't have any way to afford to be able to go to the doctor.
And community host group lead Franny Minton says the kindness shown from across the country will eventually be passed on.
So many people have came together to help the people in this area, and what will happen to the people here, they'll pass it on.
And adds that volunteers are the backbone of RAM clinics and suggests folks in the region come and help out.
Try to go and assist, help those people, because they do a marvelous. I hope you get the feeling that lasts you a whole year that you helped someone, your fellow person.
Helping your neighbor and providing access to free health care for all. In Buchanan County, Virginia, Jordan Mullins, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, there's a renewed focus on safety in football, especially when it comes to brain injuries after a player for the Miami Dolphins seemingly aggravated a previous concussion. Here in Kentucky, high school players with a concussion cannot play for the rest of the day. KHSAA Commissioner Julian Tackett oversees hundreds of games each and every fall Friday. He says anytime an injury like this occurs, it should compel leagues at all levels to look for loopholes in their own protocols and try to close them.
The kids playing at our level, their brain is still forming. The concussion itself may not be as bad as you getting back out there too quickly before you get another one.
Well, Tackett says unlike the NFL, which employs third-party doctors to avoid gamemanship, Kentucky requires clearance from the person's main doctor, and he wants to remind players, parents, and coaches that no game is more important than ensuring a healthy future.
6:07 here on this Monday morning. We're taking a look at UVA-wise over in Southwest Virginia, one of our cooler spots, and some low clouds, maybe some fog. It's really hard to tell because this camera's at a higher vantage point. So it may be just some low clouds out there this morning. 46 on the campus over there. Visibility is 4 miles, so it might actually be just a touch of fog out there this morning. So dew points are in the 40s. Feels like 43. That's interesting there, even though the temperature's a little bit warmer than that. 49 in Clintwood, 57 Jacksboro, low to mid 50s across the rest of the region. Actually 57 in Somerset. Just noticed they were a little bit warmer there as well this morning. 50 to 58 to 67 with the sunshine making an appearance later this morning going into the afternoon hours. It's going to end up being a beautiful day after a dreary start. Dakota?
All right, Brandon, thank you so much. When we come back here on Mountain News this morning, there's good news for people currently on food stamps who'd like to buy a bit more at the store. That's coming up next.